I really like training in Leadville. This is the third summer that I've spent kind of based in the Leadville area. You live at 10,000 feet, sleep, spend your days at 10,000 feet, and then from here you run up to 14,000 feet really easily. There's all the 14ers in the Swatch range, and this summer especially I've really been focusing on getting in high as possible, as often as possible. But Leadville itself, people always kind of ask me, or like, it's like, oh, you could be training in any mountain town, you know, in the state. Why do you choose Leadville? I guess one is I just have a history with the town. It was where I did my first ultra, the Leadville 100, back in 2006. But also, it's not overrun by the ski industry or tourism or anything like that. Really, there's a lot more of a real feel to it, and you know, it's quirky that way. There's no condos and not a lot of amenities, but there's everything you need, nothing more. And it's close to the Front Range too. It's only a 2-hour drive back down to Boulder, and no place else is at 10,000 feet, which is something I really like, training and sleeping high. Leadville, Colorado is this interesting place. It was booming, I don't know, 50, 60 years ago, something like that. And then the 80s it went bust, and so it kind of got very economically depressed. And this really flamboyant, sort of charismatic dude, Ken Klauber, was like, we need to do something to get the economy going here. So in 1983, he came up with the idea of doing a 100-mile race there. And I think originally they wanted to go actually from Leadville to Aspen or something, which would have been awesome. But even then, maybe they were having issues with the permitting or something. So it ended up just being out and back to this old mining town, Winfield, 50 miles out, 50 miles back. And it's funny, you know, back in the 80s, there was a little different, like 100-mile racing was still so new because Leadville was the second one, you know, Western States was in 74, that they didn't really care if, I don't know, 15 miles of it was on road or something, you know? Like, it's just like we're running 100 miles, like the easier the better or something, you know, rather than like looking for the aesthetic line through the mountains, that kind of thing. The course itself isn't as, I don't know, daunting or gnarly as something like, for say, Hard Rock or something like that. But it's cool because it's such a classic race and it's been around for so long. You do go over Hope Pass twice, which is a legit mountain pass, 12,600 feet. And it is, the whole thing is above 10,000 feet. You drop Twin Lakes, you just duck under for a few minutes basically. But so it's still a really big challenge, especially because of the altitude. But yeah, in terms of the race course, I'm happy to see it stay the way it is because it's been around for so long and you can kind of test yourself against standards that go back almost 30 years now. It just goes back to 100-mile races being unpredictable and full of so many variables. And I went in with the wrong attitude in 2009, sort of, I don't want to say arrogant, but focused on the wrong thing, you know, trying to run really fast. And it is still 100 miles and it's still a really long day. And if you aren't willing to kind of adjust your expectations along the way, then you're going to get crushed mentally because things are going to go bad at some point. I mean, I was dealing with some issues. I had giardia and that sort of thing, but I could have finished that day if I'd just been in the right mental space, but I was just focused on trying to run fast. And then in 2010, it was just stupid. You get to a point where, you know, calories stop wanting to go in, and once you can't eat, you pass out like I did, you know, and I felt like that was, you know, it was in my control and that I could have kept eating or should have kept eating. But once you kind of like subconsciously make the decision not to do that, I couldn't continue anymore. Like I needed to get calories in me quickly, and so I had to get an IV and all this stuff. But yeah, it was, so I dropped out in 2009 and 2010, and that's a hugely motivating factor for me to go back. Like, there's no way I could ever end my time running in Leadville with 2 DNFs, you know, it's just silly. Like this year, I mean, I'm willing to walk in like a 28-hour finish. It just doesn't matter. Like, I need to at least finish the race this year, you know? This summer, I've really just been focusing on being in the high mountains as much as possible. The last time I did the race in 2010, I was living in Boulder that summer, and I didn't go into the race acclimated enough for sure, and I think that's why I kind of lost my stomach the second half and ended up dropping eventually. So this year I'm going to be extremely acclimated, which I think will help a lot in terms of maintaining a fast pace on the flat stuff, and also just being able to eat a lot of calories all day long, which is key in a 100-mile race. But beyond that, last night I did kind of my first flat run, gosh, in months, and that was very much with the idea of, well, I am going to be racing in Leadville. It's good to have the legs used to just, doing like 7-8 minute miles in the flat instead of 18-minute miles up the side of a cliff face or something, which is what I've been doing a lot more of lately. This goes back to kind of the intuitive, like less scientific side of me. I don't do anything specific for the race. Someone like Nick Clark, he's probably doing some speed work to get ready for Leadville, and I don't enjoy winning enough in order to do that, I guess. I'd much rather go run up a 14er any morning than do mile repeats, on the track or in the park or something. So we'll see how it shakes out, but I'm pretty confident.